So recently, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company had their annual Pokemon Day, which is what they usually have to celebrate the franchise. Ever since 2020, they've been using it to announce new games, showcases, apps, even anime news. This is like the big day to celebrate the franchise. And if you don't know me personally, I would not be into video games without Pokemon. It was the first video game I ever played. It was the first handheld I ever owned, which was a Game Boy Advanced, and Pokemon Blue and then Emerald were like my most played games of my life until Sword and Shield. But that's not relevant to this video. But recently at this Pokemon Day thing, they announced not only some shocking like app stuff that they're doing with the trading card game, but also what's coming next year. But to understand why this game that is coming out in 2025 is so big, we have to kind of rewind a little bit. The first 3DS centric Pokemon game that released were Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. This is where a lot of people say the Pokemon franchise really dove nose downwards because the model seemed lazy, the graphics just weren't as good as the 2D ones from even the previous games, Black 2 and White 2. This was really the starting point for the Pokemon franchise to explode. This was arguably the best season of the anime, the best the trading card game has ever been, and they introduced one of the best, if not the most favorite fan loved little mechanism, because every Pokemon game has some sort of unique mechanism in it after X and Y, which is Mega Evolution. And this is like a fan favorite thing that people have wanted to return for so long, and it finally is. But these games were very pivotal also because they were very lackluster. The story didn't really make that much sense. The lore was there but not fleshed out. They had a third legendary that just didn't do anything. It was even less impactful than Mewtwo was in the original Red and Blue games, and it left a lot of people with a sour taste in their mouth. And back in the day, there were hints and rumors and whispers across the internet, across the Chinese forums, across the Japanese forums, even American Reddits, that Pokemon Z was the next installment in the franchise. People waited and waited and waited and waited, and I remember this leak season being a lot of BS. This is when a lot of people started lying about leaks and scanned images, and it never came until now. Last Tuesday, the Pokemon Company officially announced the next mainline game, which is going to be Pokemon Legends ZA. Now, there's so much to unpack, so I might not do just one video on this game. There's a lot to unpack with the title, with the way it looks, what this game could be, the fact that it's another Legends game already. Obviously, Pokemon Legends Arceus is probably the best Pokemon has ever been on the Switch. Honestly, just in 3D in general. This game is absolutely fantastic. It is definitely probably like in my top 3 Pokemon games ever. Everything about that game is really, really great. There are some things like the graphics that hold it back, but this being a follow-up in this kind of spin-off / mainline genre that they've started to do is very interesting. Now, this game is more than likely going to be a sequel to Legends Arceus. It has Pokemon Legends in the name, which means there's either a connection to Arceus, it takes place in the same time, or somehow our character from that game got transported to the past again, which wouldn't really make sense. There's got to be some sort of connection. The only thing we really know about the game is that it's taking place only in Lumio City. If you didn't play X and Y, Lumio City is like the central hub of the map. It's the main city, it's where the professor is, it's where the big bad lair is, besides like where the ultimate weapon is, which is right next to it. And this is where you learn about Mega Evolution, this is where you get your second set of starters, this is where you can change your character's looks and hair, which was a first for the Pokemon franchise. You can get coffee shops here, there's taxis, there's different districts. It was a huge plot in the main games, and this game is taking place strictly in it. Now, this has a lot of people worried because it feels like we're going from an open zone game in Legends Arceus to an open world game in Scarlet and Violet, and then back to a more linear game, which I don't agree with. I actually think they're going to basically just combine the last two games, and this game it might have some like zone split offs, but I think it's going to be mostly open world and not have as many loading screens as Legends Arceus or Scarlet and Violet, but I think there will still be like district cutoffs here and there. But overall, I think that this game is going to evoke a very similar feeling to Persona or to the Spider-Man games, where they take place in one central location with a lot of different areas for you to go to. We got like somewhat of a hint of what the map is going to look like in the trailer, and it looks a lot bigger than the normal Lumio City map. So that's a big plus in my book. Some of the biggest questions that I have surrounding this game is our character going to be from the future and sent back by Arceus again? Because that wouldn't really make any sense, because this game seems to focus mostly on Zygarde, which is the third legendary in Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. And what does the A in the title stand for? Is it for the character AZ, who was a pivotal lore character in the original games, and then for some reason this game maybe focuses on him as a younger character? Or is this how he got there? Why is it ZA, not AZ? Why is it not Legends Zygarde? Does this mean we're going to cover a lot more than that? I personally think that it's going to take place in the past. A lot of people are saying there might be a past and future element, which I do hope so, because there are a lot more mythical legendaries, which is like a sub tier of the main legendaries for the games in the Kalos region, which is the region this game is taking place in, that we do not have a lot of lore about, that never really had an event in the main games. So hopefully, like in Legends Arceus, these side legendaries essentially will get a lot of love and some more missions. Now, like Legends Arceus, this is probably going to be a lot more story heavy. Legends Arceus was a lot about exploration and filling out the Pokedex and catching everything, but it was driven by a much more centric story than most of the Pokemon games have. So I'm excited to see what they do for this follow-up game. Now, some people are saying that this might not be the only game that comes out this year. I love to be optimistic, so I agree with that. I think that there is a chance that they announce another Pokemon game in a few months to be like, hey, this is what we're doing this year, and then next year is this. I also wouldn't mind if they just let the B team of Game Freak, which is the same team that did Legends Arceus, just kind of have their time and their peace and work on this game. It's probably almost done already. They've probably been working on it since the release of the last game, because it's been about 3 years. So now for me, the other biggest thing that I have on my mind because of this game and because of its announcement is the next Switch system. Now, at the end of the trailer, it says that it is releasing simultaneously worldwide. Now, this could mean a lot of things. Obviously, the glaring, like, most obvious answer is that it is going to be the first Pokemon game to release at the same exact time all over the world. Now, if you don't know, most games, like most countries, have same day and date release dates, but there are still some, like Australia, who get the game 12 to 24 hours early. So maybe they're saying, hey, we're not doing that this time, we're just releasing it the same across the board. What some people are theorizing, though, is that this means it's going to be releasing on the current Switch that we have, and then whatever the Switch 2 or Switch Pro ends up being. My only argument with that would be is that we really don't know if the next Switch console is not going to be able to take game cartridges, because otherwise, then they don't really need to line it up that way. Nintendo usually doesn't release Pokemon games as a selling point for their consoles. It's usually a Zelda game or a Mario game or a Kirby game even. I don't really see them being like, hey, here's a Pokemon game to go with the brand new release of the console. Usually they'll release it a few months later and then do like a bundle with the game and like a special design console. But again, it's going to be really interesting to see the next few months. I definitely think we're going to get gameplay and then a very hard date probably soon, but I'm excited to see all the theorizing. I really like Pokemon, like I said, so this to me is a really important game. It also seems like it's very important to Nintendo because they even pinned their tweet about it. So anyways, that's gonna do it for today. If you're excited for this game, let me know. If you're not, that's cool too. This franchise is one of those that, you know, we buy it every single year, even though it may suck. So with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.